you've got to pick the right time or you're behind the eight ball from the start. So when to leave, you need to leave as soon as possible. If a nuclear explosion happened, as soon as you caught wind of that, you need to be putting foot to butt and heading out. Don't go watch the news and be like, well, find out all the details. You need to go right then.
Because if you listen to the news, they're going to probably tell you to shelter in place, right?
Yeah, most likely they're going to tell you that. But get ahead of the crowd. Most people, the vast majority of the population, are going to be awestruck and dumbstruck on what to do. They're gonna have no idea what to do. So essentially, you've got a head start on those people.
Friday, welcome back to the Homestead HQ, where we talk about homesteading and preparedness. I am Shelly.
And I'm Jason. Hey guys, it's good to have you back. We've had a good week this week, hanging out, doing a bunch of stuff. Before we get into the main topic, but the main topic is going to be great this week. It's kind of part two of what we started on last week on our Get Home bags. This week we're going to be kind of scratching the surface on what to do if you're in the scenario of you're out somewhere, if you're in Gatlinburg and you live in Kentucky, on how to get home if some kind of event happens. This is a huge topic. We could go for days and days, and we could do episode after episode and still not super deep dive in this. So we're going to scratch the surface, some basic stuff on what to think about and everything like that. And before we get into that, VacMaster sent me an email. VacMaster is one of our main sponsors that helps the show come across to y'all. Their website is vacmasterfresh.com. The code on it is Homestead, but they're having, let me get my notes, Kickoff Fall with VacMaster is their promotion. It goes through the end of September. What the sales they've got going, 30% off all their tables, 20% off their chamber sealers, and then 15% off all their bags and accessories. So,
they have, their knives are awesome. They've got great knives.
Yeah. So you can stack our discount, our 15% discount on top of those. It doesn't exactly stack like 30% and 15%, but it still stacks. I don't know the exact percentage, but you're still getting a great deal. Those tables, they've got great tables. Honestly, I'm probably going to order a couple more tables for the shop, and I'm going to stock up on bags. Getting 15% off bags. And then also the knife roll. I've got the knife roll sitting right here. Their knife roll, I did a video on it. Go check it out. You can get that knife roll for 15% off plus my 15% discount using the code Homestead. So go check those guys out. They're awesome people to deal with, and I've never had a problem with them. So check that through the end of September. Shelly, Homestead happenings. What's been going on with you?
Well, last night we had a little bit of chaos around here.
Oh, goodness.
I was sitting in the living room. Actually, I wasn't. Yeah, I was sitting in the living room going through. I was organizing my seeds. I bought these new things to put my seeds in and organize them and, make them look real nice and everything. So I was sitting on the couch doing that, and I heard a dog yelping. And I went outside, and Cooper, he's our Australian Shepherd mix, and if y'all watch my YouTube channel, you've seen him on that channel. He was hung up on a cattle panel. You know how the bars of a cattle panel are welded, and at the end it's got like a little nub that sticks out. I've scratched my leg on them. They're not fun to deal with.
They will eat your lunch.
Yeah, they will. Well, he got the inside of his right leg hung on that and completely ripped the skin off. Like the whole inside of his leg was skinned. Just like you skin a deer. It was skinned, and part of his belly. Oh my God. It was awful. And so, our daughter that lives next door, she came over and helped me and kind of kept him calm. I had to get his skin off of that thing on the cattle panel. And then, so the guy who, our vet, him and his wife have been friends of ours for, I don't know, 20 years. And, of course it was after hours and everything. And I called the vet and he was like, bring him up here. I get him up there. And so he's looking at him and it really, you know how just like you skin a deer, that's really what it looked like. You know, you could see muscle and all that. But he said, I know it looks awful, but he said he hasn't, he said, I don't see any muscle damage. There's probably not any nerve damage. He hasn't hit any major arteries because there was not a lot of blood loss. He's like, I'm sure it hurts like the Dickens or whatever, but he said, we're going to have to knock him out and sew it up. He said, there's going to be a buttload of stitches. He's going to have to wear a cone for a couple weeks. And, you know, we're going to have to take him out on a leash to go to the bathroom so he's not running around and all that kind of thing. So right now they did his surgery early this morning. And, he woke up sometime around, I don't know. It was like mid-morning or something like that. Randy called up there and they said he was doing fine. And he's going to stay at the vet until, I think Randy can go pick him up tomorrow and bring him home. But, oh my gosh, it tore me up. And I know, like, some people aren't dog people, I guess, or pet people, but we are. And our dogs are like our kids. I mean, I don't know. It tore me up. I was a wreck when I got home, and I'm in the middle of like trying to pack for my trip and cleaning house and all that kind of stuff. When I got home, it was like, I don't know. Like, you know how you feel like when you have an adrenaline dump and you're just, you know, everything's over and you're just like wiped out. That was me last night when I got home. I thought, geez.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy.
I can imagine. You mean you didn't get your IFAC out and just stitch him up yourself?
Well, let me tell you.
You could have the stuff you've got.
When I was looking, I've got stuff, right? And so I'm looking at it. And when I pulled his leg back and I saw how massive the wound was, I'm just like, yeah, this is out of my wheelhouse. I don't think I can do this. If you were to take like the part that was ripped open, and it was literally ripped open. What I think happened is he got hung up on it and he tried to get loose, and that's what he skinned himself, I guess. Oh, yeah. But if you were to take that wound and like straighten it out, like no joke, it'd probably be 2 feet long.
Jeez.
I mean, it would not surprise me if they tell me that he got like 75 to 100 stitches. It was huge.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck, you're great at teaching people how to do stuff, but I was at a loss. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm calling the vet. I can't handle this. It just traumatized me. I don't know.
I don't blame you. I would have called the vet on that one too. That might have been, I mean, that's a lot of staples and a lot of stitching to do.
Yeah.
So, well.
Not to mention, so they had to he's got 2 drain tubes in, and he's going to have to be on antibiotics and pain meds. So I don't have that stuff either. I mean, even if I could have patched him up, I don't have antibiotics to give a dog. So and that's just one of those things, prepping, that's something you got to prepare for. Right. And I wasn't prepared for it. Thank God we still have vets that we can take them to and get them taken care of. But, yeah, it's when stuff like that happens, it really puts you in mind of, I was not at all prepared for that.
Well, we'll go a little nugget out of the podcast. Your antibiotics, most of those are fine for dogs and cats. So if you got them for people, if you went and got some of your fish antibiotics for your fish tank, because your fish always get sick, those will work on dogs and cats, most of them. So I'm not a doctor and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, so take that for what it's worth.
We need to find a chart about, like what to give them, which, I mean, like how much to give them, I guess, because I don't know.
Well, with
it all depends on their weight and all that kind of thing,
Yeah, with amoxicillin, the vet that I used to work for, when I would get sinus infections, he was like, go back there and get amoxicillin out of the usage cabinet, take 3 times a day for 10 days. And I was talking to him one day. I'm like, what with amoxicillin? I was like, what'll happen if you take too much? He goes, amoxicillin will not hurt you. He said, you'll just pee out what you don't need. And he was like, you can't overdose on amoxicillin. He's like, if you took too much, you're just going to pee it out. So I'm like, okay, good to know.
So, that is good to know.
Yeah. And that's with just amoxicillin. I don't know about any of the other drugs and stuff like that, but generally amoxicillin is good for a lot of stuff. So, because I've got all different, I don't even know all the different types of antibiotics I've got. I've got a chart on what everything treats. Yeah. I don't have it right in front of me. So.
Well, and I don't know, as far as pain meds and stuff like that, I was sitting there thinking when I was driving to the vet to take him up there. In my mind, I'm sitting there going, how would you get him, to where he's not hurting? And he wasn't crying when we were driving up there, but if you messed with him, he didn't want you messing with him, kind of thing. But it popped in my head about when we had that pig Curly and we got Wilma and she beat the fire out of him. Like, it was ridiculous how mean she bullied that pig. And he was massive. He had to be like 500 pounds. And she was so mean to him. And you connected me with Bubby. And I called him and he was like, give him a beer. Yeah. And no joke, like within a couple days, I gave him a beer a couple times a day for a couple days, and he was fine. And it helped with the pain. He was able to get up and move around and all that stuff because she just like kept ramming him, and I'm sure he was bruised up. But, sometimes with animals and, giving them beer, it's not going to hurt them. But that might be an alternative if you're looking for some kind of pain meds. I'm not saying, get your dog drunk on moonshine or something like that, but it can mellow them out a little bit, just like it does us.
Oh yeah, for sure. There hasn't been much going on here except for everyday chores. I've got to check a calendar and see when the next sale at United Producers is. I'm going to take. I've actually got 6 ram lambs, and we'll keep 2 of those to put in the freezer, and then we'll take 4 of them off. So I got to check the calendar and see. They do 2 sales a month here in Bowling Green, so I'm gonna take those jokers up there and sell them and cut the flock down just a little bit. So because I've got freezer stuff full of food, and I'm just gonna go ahead and sell these guys, and that'll pay for some of the hay for this winter. So that's about all I've got. I did.
Because you'll have a bunch more lambs popping out in the spring, won't you?
I think I'm pretty sure. I don't know when I'll have any because I do the all natural thing. I let the ram do his thing when he wants to. So sometimes we'll have just surprise babies. So not necessarily surprise babies, but you can tell when the ewes are pregnant. I mean, they start look like they've swallowed a couple footballs or something like that, and then you can tell when they're super close because they'll start bagging up and everything. Nobody's bagged up or anything like that yet, so it's not going to be anytime soon.
Yeah, but how many did you have last year?
You took 4, right?
Yeah, you had a bunch.
We had 10.
Wow.
So out of 6 ewes, we had 10 lambs. And you want to shoot, I think it's like 166% birthing rate, and they say typically the big producers want to hit like 150% is their goal for lambing rate. So we're at like 166%. I think that's what the math is. So we were above standard, but it's fine. We'll take those 4 and sell them. I've still got 2 that I need to butcher that are ready. The next cool weekend we get, we're gonna put those guys in the freezer. They're ready to go.
That's good.
So then we'll have 2 more later on. Probably another 5 or 6 months, something like that. We'll butcher those guys and stick them in the freezer. I'm ready for another leg of lamb.
Mutton is good.
Oh, this stuff is amazing. That I cooked the leg of lamb, and all I put was salt, pepper, and garlic on it, and stuck it on a roasting rack and put it in the oven. And man, that stuff, I would have rather had that than stinking steak. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
So, all right. what you got? Well, real quick before, because I know some people pop out at the very end. Guys, go to KentuckySustainableLiving.com. That is our website where you can get all the information. You can find whatever you want to, information about the festival. It's October 26th and 27th in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So go by there.
Be there. It's where all the cool kids are at.
Yeah. I mean, all the super cool kids. There's cool kids everywhere, but the super cool kids are going to be here. But yeah, you can go get your tickets. I mean, tickets are $25. Don't go to Starbucks for about 3 days, or really 1.5 days, probably. Don't go to Starbucks a couple times and you can afford your ticket. $25 to see all these great speakers. Go to a huge vendor area, see a bunch of demonstrations, everything like that. But I wanted to get that out before I know a lot of people drop off. So KentuckySustainableLiving.com. Go by there and check it out. Shelly, what you got for some news?
I actually have a couple stories today. There's some crazy stuff going on in the world. I don't know if y'all been hearing about this, but there's some crazy stuff going on.
The cat population is down.
Yeah, in Ohio it is.
You know
what's funny? It actually, so they kept trying to say, this isn't the news story, but they kept trying to say that was like fake news. And guess what? The city officials have come out and said, it's not fake news. There's been a problem with people losing their pets.
Kind of like that jab that they said, oh, it ain't going to do anything. And
right.
All that's coming out.
So both of my stories are kind of a serious nature. I mean, sometimes I try to find stuff that's just obscure or weird or whatever, but both of them are kind of serious. The first one that I have is, have y'all heard about this 11-year-old kid in Florida who's been arrested? And he actually brought like this whole spread of weapons to school. Had a list of who all he was going to try to kill, and threatened kids at school and everything. The picture of all the weapons that are laid out on the table at the sheriff's office or police office or whatever. There's weapons on there that are guns, but they're like airsoft guns. You know, they have like that red end on the end of them. But then, so that's part of the table. But then the whole other part of the table are knives and like swords and stuff that's like, they're pretty crazy looking knives. So I'm guessing that this kid, you know, got these from his parents or whatever. But he came in and he said that he had a list of names and targets. And then he's trying to tell, after he gets caught, he's in middle school and he was scaring the crap out of all these kids and everything. After he gets caught, then he says, well, you know, it's all a joke. And so the sheriff, his last name is Chitwood, Chitwood. He ain't having it. Like, I watched a press conference that he did, and he was straight up. He said he was going to like march them out with, you know, handcuffs and I mean, they shackled this kid's feet, everything. He said he was going to put their pictures on billboards. And he said if he found out that the parents knew anything about it, he was going to, you know, go after them as well. And this dude was losing his mind. And to be honest with you, I don't disagree with anything that he said. I mean, he's like, I am fed up. We're done with this. And so right now in Kentucky, in our area in Kentucky, over the past couple of weeks, so what was it, a week and a half ago or something, that dude started shooting up I-75 in eastern Kentucky. Yeah. And then he was hiding out in the Daniel Boone National Forest, and he was shooting people on the interstate in their car and stuff like that. So I think there's news that came out today that they found a body. They think it's him, but they haven't confirmed, or it hasn't been confirmed in the news. But when that happened, it seemed like that whole week, because didn't that happen like on a Sunday or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was a Sunday.
It seemed like that whole week after that, we had several schools around South Central Kentucky that were on hard and soft lockdowns because threats were being made. You know, so-and-so's going to bring, you know, weapons to school and do this and do that. And it's been going on for about 2 weeks now. And so I guess that's why this story just kind of hit me, because I thought this is what's happening here. And when kids do that, all they get is a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
It's not it terroristic threatening is a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
It doesn't deter them from doing stuff like that, I guess.
No. I mean, I think it should be a straight up felony.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. They ought to put
Especially
you on
if they come in with a weapon.
Yeah, they ought to put you on the list just like they do the sexual predators.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you really look at it, because I've been keeping up with it on some stuff on Facebook, because a bunch of the Warren County schools have been on lockdown. The high school that's real close to me, they went on lockdown, and but and then there was one in Barron County.
Yeah, Barron County High School. Yep.
By you, but the thing is,
well, in Glasgow too, both of our high schools here. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you read that article, it's like there's social media links and this quote hit list and everything and all this. It's the same thing that they did in Bowling Green, so in Warren County. So the thing is, it makes me think this is some kind of orchestrated event. It screams kind of the whole MK Ultra deal, in my opinion, to get down in that rabbit hole. But the way I really kind of look at it is this is a coordinated deal. You've got these other shootings going on that's perpetrated by the Democrats, and they can do this and get all these parents and everything up in a frenzy. And it's like, if we didn't have these guns, we wouldn't have this problem. It's a roundabout way to do a gun grab is what it's going to be. And mark my word, there's going to be stuff come up to take more of your Second Amendment rights away. I can guarantee that, because the Democrats always have a bill ready to go before the blood is dried on the floor from some of these kids. They're already passing a bill saying, well, that they'll bring the bill up. Oh my gosh, this kid just now died. We've got a bill ready to go. Which it's the sorriest thing ever, in my opinion. They're not helping anybody.
Right.
But personal opinion, that ought to be a stinking felony, and that kid ought to do some stinking jail time. I don't care really how old he is and not.
Well, and I feel like the parents should be accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with it. I mean, I just, there's kids out there that their parents teach them, they're have weapons in the house. They teach them to respect them. They don't do this stuff. They don't take them to school, threaten other kids. And then you have kids out there who do that. And, sometimes it's not the parents' fault. Sometimes you just got a kid that's just what they do. But, like the kid that where was the kid at recently? I can't think of what state it was in. But there was a kid that took a weapon to school, shot people at school, and the dad, he had gotten in trouble and had been threatening people, and the dad took him and bought him a gun for his birthday. And I mean, they had been talked to by the police and everything, and so they turned around and arrested the dad. I think he should have been arrested.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're contributing to that, yes, you're responsible for that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's sad, but I mean, a lot of it comes back to the family and the way kids are raised anymore. I mean, that's the bottom line. That, and they're not taught respect, and they're not raised right. I mean, that it's gonna have to be fixed at the home. No matter what kind of security you got at schools and everything else, something's gonna happen. Regardless, if you don't fix the parents and fix the home life, this is going to continue to go on. Regardless, they can ban all guns. I mean, they can ban every gun in the U.S., but then a kid's going to come in with a sword, or he's going to come in with an axe.
What this kid did.
Yeah,
he's got a whole table full of knives and swords and everything.
Well,
Doesn't matter that all of the other weapons were airsoft guns or whatever. He can do just as much damage with those swords and those knives and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you don't have any guns, you can run out to your dad's shed and grab a hatchet or the camp axe and go into town,
or a baseball bat.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a gun problem; it's a people problem. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, What else you
So
got?
my other story, I don't know if you've heard about this one, but apparently, well, they're not sure who's behind it, but they're speculating who's behind it. So the terrorist group Hezbollah, um, they decided that they weren't going to carry cell phones anymore because they were afraid that Mossad, the Israeli Mossad,
Yeah.
was figuring out, like tracking them with cell phones and all that stuff. So they got rid of those and they handed out pagers to everybody. And I feel okay. I feel horrible for laughing about this because this is kind of jacked up. But you don't need to mess with the Mossad. You don't. And I'm probably not even saying that right. Mossad. I don't know. But anyways, it's the Israeli group. So their counterterrorism measures. They're saying that the Mossad got a hold of whoever they bought all these pagers from, Hezbollah, and before they got them, they put explosives in them. And so yesterday they had this coordinated attack where 3,000 of them that were on these terrorists exploded. Now, where do most people keep pagers?
In their pocket.
In their pocket.
What?
So they were exploding that whole region of these people. Some of them, it was, like in their hand or something, and their hand got blown off. I think they had they had 3,000 of them that were injured. 12 people were left dead. And then today, they did the same thing with walkie-talkies, that this same group, like they targeted Hezbollah, however you say that, the terrorist group. Okay. And today 450 people were wounded because they had exploding radios or walkie-talkies, and 450 were wounded and 14 people were left dead. Y'all don't mess with Mossad. And they haven't come out and said, hey, we did this, but like everybody around the world is going, oh yeah, that totally sounds like Mossad.
Oh yeah.
But those people are for real. They don't mess around.
Yeah. I mean, I've been listening to some stuff about that, and honest to goodness, I'm probably going to go to hell for laughing about it, but I think it's funny as shit. I mean, it's like, yeah, we're gonna get their pagers and we're gonna blow their pagers up when they look at them. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Well, and of course, a bunch of people are just like up in arms about it. They're like, we can't believe that they did this kind of thing. But instead of going in and blowing up the areas or, where these people were at, they specifically targeted the bad guys.
Well,
it's just,
the only bad
it's
thing
ingenious.
About it is, the only bad thing about it is one kid did get hurt.
Two kids died. There was an 8-year-old and 11-year-old.
Yeah.
So, that sucks. But yeah. I was just, when I started hearing about this and then I started reading about it, I thought, oh my God, that's like James Bond stuff or something.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow.
So that's the news for the day.
All right. Before we jump into the main topic, guys, go check out Signature Solar. It's signaturesolar.com. Use the code Homestead. That'll save you some money on your next order. Those guys are great to work with. They're one of the main sponsors for the podcast and also for our festival that's coming up. Come by the festival. Those guys will be there. You can talk to them, figure out your needs for a system. And they're actually going to have an extra coupon code at the festival to save you even more money if you show up at the festival to order some stuff. But jumping into our main topic, this is something that hopefully Shelly will not have to use on her trip and everything. But
hope not.
Yeah, last episode we were talking about kind of a get home bag light is kind of the thing, and talking about some essentials that you needed in a get home bag. this week we're going to kind of scratch the surface on what to do if you're somewhere away from your house, and this could even go for work, or if you're out to the mall, or if you're on vacation. If you're out away from the house and something goes down and you need to get back to your house on essentially getting home when shit has hit the fan. Like I said, we could do 30 episodes on this and not cover everything. We're just going to kind of scratch the surface, hit some high points on it. If y'all want more stuff, that we can go more in depth on this and do some more episodes and really get down in the weeds with it. So leave a comment if you like this, that kind of stuff. Is that one of the new cats?
Yeah.
Shelly's got for the listeners, Shelly's got a cat that's running on her. So
it's a little kitten.
Yeah. All right. So some of the stuff. Let's say you're in Gatlinburg. How many was it? 4 hours to get to Gatlinburg from your house?
So I actually brought it up. Hold on a minute. Get on down here. Go on. I brought it up from where we're going to my house is 210 miles.
All right.
So if you're figuring out, so that's roughly drive time. That's, I don't know, a little under 4 hours.
Yeah.
So what's that going to be walking time? If something happened and I had to walk home from Gatlinburg.
It's going to be a hot minute. Let's say, how many miles you say it was?
210 miles.
210 miles. Let's say you can, I don't know. Over there, if you got 10 miles a day, that's 21 days. So I'd say your average person might be able to get 10 miles a day. I don't really know. I don't know how many miles a day I walk in my job. It all kind of depends, but we could probably do a calculation and figure out. But if you're doing 10 miles a day, that's 21 days, 3 weeks to get home. So part of it, honestly, if you look at it, part of it is when you need to leave. So, of course, if a nuclear explosion goes off, yeah, it's time to leave. Don't hang out there. If there's some kind of imminent threat coming through there, like if you're somewhere and a volcano is going to erupt or erupting right now, you don't need to hang out and watch the volcano erupt. You need to get foot to butt and go.
Right.
But there's some stuff there. Maybe there's some civil unrest going on where you're at. Let's say you went to Florida for vacation and there's some civil unrest going on down there. You might need to look at that and see what's going on and be like, hey, this thing might blow up bigger than what it is. It's located in one part of the city, but this thing might get bigger and spread out through the whole city, and then they can lock the city down and be like, hey, ain't nobody going in or out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then you're stuck. So that's the whole thing, and that's just like bugging out. You've got to pick the right time or you're behind the 8 ball from the start. So when to leave, you need to leave as soon as possible. If a nuclear explosion happened, as soon as you caught wind of that, you need to be putting foot to butt and heading out. Don't go watch the news and be like, well, find out all the details. You need to go right then.
Because if you listen to the news, they're going to probably tell you to shelter in place, right?
Yeah, most likely they're going to tell you that. But get ahead of the crowd. Most people, the vast majority of the population, are going to be awestruck and dumbstruck on what to do. They're gonna have no idea what to do. So essentially, you've got a head start on those people. Part of what you got to look at too is your car working still, or are you gonna be humping it? So there's some stuff to look at there, and of course, what the stuff that you have with you. If you got your bag, you need to take an inventory of what you got, all your goods that are with you. And then it kind of comes, you've got to look at it. Honestly, wherever you're going, you need a map of your area. An atlas is a great thing to carry. And then if you know you're going to be in one particular area, get a bigger map, a more detailed map of that. And another thing too is let your family know, go ahead and plan your major route that you're going to take to and from where you're going, and then have a backup plan also. Let your family know what routes you're going to be taking. If you're going to be taking I-40 all the way there, say, hey, we're going to take I-40, but then if something happens and 40 shut down, look at the bigger roads that you can take and be like, hey, Randy, this is plan B if something happens.
Right.
And just let them know. I mean, just be like, hey, this is a route we're going to take. Some of the stuff, I kind of made a list of some of the stuff. I was making notes on my phone with it. Let me pull my notes up. So you're looking, a lot of the stuff, people are going to say, are you going to take the interstates or are you going to take the back roads? There's pros and cons to both, honestly. Interstate typically is going to be the more direct route because the roads are straighter, there's bigger roads. It's going to be, typically when you're driving, it's going to be faster to take the interstate if you're driving normal conditions. But in a grid down, shit hit the fan scenario, your interstates are going to be clogged because everybody's going to be going that way. So the back roads have a little bit of advantage on that. As far as your smaller highways, country roads, that kind of stuff. I came up, this is some of the pros to a back roads as far as taking not interstate roads. They're probably less traveled than the interstates, reducing your chance of encounters. The isolation of not near as many people might, quote, make you feel safer. Some of the cons on a back road, usually they're going to be narrower. You might have to slow down, for passing traffic, stuff like that. If there's a wreck on a smaller back road, it might clog the whole thing to where, as opposed to an interstate, typically you've got the shoulder or the median that you can go around a crash or something like that. They're not near as maintained as the interstates. Let's see what else I've got. That's lack of, and some of this stuff, like lack of experience on your dirt roads and stuff like that. Some of these roads will flood more than the interstates. I mean, I can only remember one time that an interstate around here flooded, and that was when Nashville flooded,
right.
13 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Part of the interstates were closed. Typically, your interstates won't flood, but your back roads will flood. Some of the pros on your interstates, and this is some of the stuff. It's going to be a shorter route. There's a shorter route. They're more maintained. There's going to be more people, which you could get more news of what's going on. But more people is a double-edged sword. More people means more interactions with people that might not have your best interest in there.
Right.
So, but typically, if it's all good people and goodwill people, more people is more security. So the more people you've got with you, as long as you can count on them, the more security you've got. And then on the other hand, some of the cons in the interstate is you're going to have more people around you, and there's always going to be some bad actors in there. Probably military and police are going to shut the interstates down. So you might be traveling down 40 and then all of a sudden they decided they're going to shut it down right here. So then you can't go anywhere. They might not even let you get off the interstate. They might round you up in the FEMA bus and take you to a FEMA camp for fun. So you'd be at, Camp FEMA for the summer.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. Then, more people on there is one of the cons. Let me see what else I've got on here. That you can look at that. Personally, for me, depending on what I was going to do, if my vehicle was still running, I'm probably going to take the back roads just because I know the interstates are going to be clogged up, and the back roads just seem safer to me, honestly, because the way I'm looking at it, if you're traveling the back roads, you're probably going to encounter mostly local people there. You're not going to encounter people from all over the country. So that's one of the things. What do you think, Shelley? You think back roads or interstates?
I prefer back roads. I prefer traveling on back roads. But I do know, and like this one situation, me taking this trip to Gatlinburg, there's a lot of craziness in Eastern Kentucky. I mean, nah, I won't say a lot of craziness. I've been all over Eastern Kentucky and met a lot of great people and everything, but there are some areas in the mountains that I don't want to be in at night. So, I feel like if you're in one of these situations, you've really got to keep your head on a swivel. You've got to be alert. You've got to understand what's happening around you. You got to be, looking for if there's any kind of danger or anything like that. You just got to be very aware of what's happening around you. And some people, they go through life oblivious. They don't pay attention to anything. So, um, that's the big thing for me, is just making sure that I know what's happening around me. One of the things that on when I started looking into this topic, one of the things that I found is a lot of what you need to do is in preparation before it happens. So um I found a message board on Reddit. I don't get on Reddit a lot, but I found a message board on Reddit where people were talking about this. And this woman said that, where she works at from her house to get home, if something happened, it was like 3 miles, like no big deal. She can do that. And the school that her high school age son goes to, it's a mile from their house. But then she has an elementary school kid and his school is 20 miles from the house. And she's like, I do not know how I would get him home if something happened. She's like, I've not figured that out yet. And people were suggesting stuff like, have a conversation with the teacher, or, figure out some way to make sure that he's safe, and all this kind of stuff. That's the thing about all of this, is figure out what your problem areas are, and whether it's the route that you take home, or, knowing where choke points are, or knowing how to, get through an area quiet, whatever it is, know that in advance. And I remember Jeff Smith, when he was at our first festival, he talked about this, getting home in this kind of situation. And he said that he had this plan that he had worked out, him and his wife had worked out with their kids, and everybody knew what their job was. Everybody knew, if this scenario happened, this is what you do. This is where we'll meet. This is what you need to have with you. He made sure everybody had, get home bags and all of that kind of stuff. And that's, in my opinion, that's the most important part of this. And pray that you never have to use it, but have that plan in place for whatever it's going to be. I don't know. It's when I started digging into this, it's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit scary.
Oh yeah, and part of it too. I mean, we've kind of taken it. Your trip to Gatlinburg is kind of what I was looking at when I was making this. If it's everyday stuff, and you're, say you're 5 miles from where your office to your house, map out 2 or 3 different locations and actually physically walk those and see how long it's going to take you. Whether it's going to take you, 2 hours, if it's going to take you 10 hours to walk home. Figure out those ways. There's a lot of stuff, and we've talked about it before. There's a lot of stuff you're going to notice just walking it as opposed to driving it. And we've touched on that before, in the podcast. Things are a lot different when you're humping it on your 2 feet as opposed to just pushing the gas pedal and going with it.
Yeah.
So get out there, walk those, map. If you've got kids and you need to go pick your kids up from school, map out 2 or 3 different locations, 2 or 3 different routes to go, and stink and drive those different routes. Maybe keep a bike. If you have worst case, you have an EMP or something, keep it one of those fold up bikes in your trunk of your car. And you can go a heck of a lot faster and cover a lot more distance on a bike than you can just humping it on your 2 feet.
Yeah.
So, and then that kind of brings up also of times to travel. So there's pros and cons on walking in the daylight, and there's pros and cons on walking in the night. So walking in the daytime, you can see what's going on. You can see what's ahead of you. You can see what's around you, possible ambush and choke points and stuff like that. But the cons are most everybody's going to be out during the daytime, and they're going to set up their little camp and have their little fire and all that kind of stuff. So they'll do that. I personally would travel at night if it was me. Some of the pros on traveling at night, like I said, most people are going to be held up at night because they're probably scared of the dark or scared, to be out and stuff like that. The pros on that, so there's not going to be near as many people out there. But some of the cons on it, you're not going to be able to see as good. You're not going to be able to see ambushes or choke points or anything like that. And if you're out in complete darkness, your eyes are going to, be accustomed to that, and you're going to have pretty good night vision, after a little while. I personally would travel at night because then you can hold up during the day, and you can find you a good little hide site, set up some camouflage, hide from everybody, and you can see threats a lot better during the daytime. And if you're camouflaged in real good in a good hiding spot, you can sit there and nobody will see you, and they'll just pass right on by. And that's personally what I would do. And then also, if it's wintertime, if it's summertime, I would rather travel at night because it's going to be a lot cooler.
Yeah, the sun is, yeah.
Think about our summers here. If you're 90 degrees and 95% humidity, it sucks walking out in the middle of the day. It sucks just being outside, not even really doing anything. But if you've got a backpack with you and you're hiking miles a day, it's going to be miserable. I would much rather do that at night. So, but just like anything, there's pros and cons and everything in life, and you just got to choose which one works best for you. Like I said, we've just scratched the surface on this. If y'all are interested in more, drop us a comment, email, whatever. And that's another thing. When you go to our website, KentuckySustainableLiving.com, sign up for the email list. We send out emails twice a week. Sometimes it's got like the VacMaster sales. We'll drop those in there. VacMaster does flash sales, so you kind of get the early scoop on a lot of stuff. With VacMaster and some more of our affiliates, you'll get the latest news on the festival and stuff like that. And that's just a way for us to stay in contact with y'all. Shelly, what else have you got about getting home? I know, like I said, we could do 100 episodes on this and still not cover every little bit of it.
One of the things that was on that Reddit thing that I read said, decide whether you need to go home or you need to go to a bug out location or someplace else that you have established. And it said that it basically, depends on what's going on. Wherever I'm at, I'm going to try to get home because this is our bug out location. This is where I plan to be if anything ever happens. But if you were in a city or an urban place or something like that, and something's happening in that area, and it could be, maybe it's not SHTF, maybe it's crazy riots or something, craziness has been going on the last few years. You need to figure out where you're going to be, but then everybody else in your family, they need to know what that is, because if communication goes down, you need to be like, in this scenario, this is what we need to do. In this scenario, we need to go here. If this happens, we need to go there. And so everybody knows, oh, this is happening. Mom and dad said we need to go here, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, communicating with your crew, with the people that you're living with, that's the utmost importance.
For sure. And that comes back to having a whole family emergency plan and having a family or group, communications plan. And we can dive into those later on how to set all that stuff up. I mean, as a matter of fact, excuse me, I've got stuff sitting here. Excuse me, I've got stuff sitting here on my desk from the communications class that Brian and Susan did on how to set up all the communications plans and stuff like that. We can dive into that, but that's just another part of it. And honestly, when you really start getting down in this, there's so much that you can do. Heck, you could make a full-time job out of just planning for emergencies for your family or your group.
And another thing that you said, having a paper map, because I still have Randy still drives a truck, but he used to be an over-the-road truck driver. So back before they even came out with, like Garmin's and all that kind of thing, he had a trucker's map or a trucker's atlas, and they're like really big, spiral bound, and they have all of the truck routes and all of that kind of thing. It's like way more than what you get in a regular atlas, and so every few years he would have to buy a new one, like an updated one, because they change roads and everything. Well, I have the last one that he bought before people started using, navigation devices or their cell phone or anything like that. You would not believe, and to me, it's just it's natural. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that people don't know how to read a map, but you would not believe how many people do not know how to read a map.
Oh, for sure.
So, if part of your if you're trying to figure out how to come up with a plan of what's going to happen, educate you and your family on how to read maps. Just sit down and start, looking at them, and it's probably even a good idea to do, like, pull up, you can go online and get topographical maps of your area if you have a farm or something like that, and start learning what those are. You can see the ridges and, when you have slopes and all of that kind of stuff. Familiarize yourself with that kind of thing, because then you can bring up a topographical map of your county, the immediate area around you, and where there's like features that, like land features that maybe you can't get past on foot or something like that. And, how to get around things. So familiarize yourself with that kind of stuff.
My topo, I think it's mytopo.com is where I get a bunch of maps. And I printed out I had them print me out a 3x5 map of my area. I think it covers maybe 5 square miles, 5 or 10 square miles, but it's a satellite image is what I printed out for that. And it's 3 foot by 5 foot. It's stinking awesome. I like it. I need to get a topo map of the area too. It would be nice to have. If somebody comes here to my place, I can show them different terrain features and stuff like that if they're not super familiar with it. I mean, I'm really, really familiar. I've lived in this area my whole life, so I know most everything, as far as topographic wise here and roads and all that. But that's about all I've got. Like I said, we just scratched the surface of this. We could go on for days and days on this and still not cover every stinking scenario that could possibly pop up. So, Shelly, throw a few minutes of festival stuff in there. I mean, we've already talked about the festival some, but throw a little bit more festival stuff before we head out for the night.
Festival stuff. So you can go to www.kentuckysustainableliving.com to get your tickets. Tickets are $25. If you use code email25 when you check out, you can get them for $25. We've got so many great speakers lined up. We've got Callie Blackwell. We've got William Bond. We've got Bill Stoker. We've got Flomaton Famous. Going to be doing tree grafting. We've got Angry Prepper is coming. We've got Chuck Peoples. He's going to be talking about medical stuff. Y'all, you need to come and check it out. I know that everybody's a little torqued up about, what's going to be happening in November. It's like this every time we have an election year. But the festival is going to be happening before election day. So come and hang out with us, meet some awesome people, learn some really cool skills, and get yourself that much closer to being sustainable on your own and not dependent on the government.
Yeah, guys, go ahead and buy your tickets. It helps us plan. Ticket prices are probably going to go up the first part of October. So go ahead and get those. It helps us plan. And we hope to see you there. It's going to be an awesome weekend of learning, meeting people. Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to meet somebody that lives within 10 to 15 minutes of you, honestly. It's a great time to meet people and start building your community and building it now. And we will be back next week. That's about all I've got. Guys, we appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.